My name is Noel Ambrose. I'm head of go-to-market for Eclipse AI. Chris, would you like to just introduce yourself?
Hi there, guys. Yes, my name is Chris Jones. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders of Eclipse AI.
Thank you, Chris. Ben?
Yeah, my name is Ben Diivy. I'm head of consulting. I look after the delivery teams in Eclipse AI.
Great. Thanks, Ben. So, the focus for the session today is we're going to walk you through a demonstration of our AI CSDM engine, which you can see at the top. Just to mention for people that maybe haven't come across Eclipse AI before, who we are as a business. So we are an AI consultancy company. We also have a lot of expertise in ServiceNow across the platform. Hence, what you can see below are some of the other AI offerings that we've either already built or are in the process of in development. So just for example, in ITSM, Chloe is the ability, an agent to help build your service catalog, for example, which is always a very time-consuming process for customers. So what we're trying to do across each area of the platform is either build AI agents or AI assistants that will help customers like yourself to accelerate their time to value. So if you do want to find out about any of these other agents, assistants, please get in touch and we can run a demo for you, share more detail on the offering. So I'm just going to move on. Right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to literally present 3 slides and then I'm going to hand over to Chris, and Chris is then going to start the demonstration of the engine. But I'm going to just talk briefly about why this is so important for customers and what happens if you don't have CSDM alignment in ServiceNow. Then how do we compare the traditional manual approach to an AI engine that can accelerate that time to map and model your services to CSDM? Depending on what maturity you're looking to achieve, we can ask the engine, like you will see today, what maturity you would like to achieve. So whether that be crawl, walk, run, or fly, that's the ability of our engine to do that based upon the data that we pass through to the engine. So then we'll get a live demo. Ben's going to then do an interactive dashboard. So the dashboard gets created per business application. It means it's an easy way for your key stakeholders, your owners, platform owners, service owners, digital portfolio owners to see their data in a dashboard that they can interact with, rather than having to look at maybe detailed diagrams that the architects or the technical people want to look at that detail. We've obviously allowed time for questions, next steps. So I think we've probably all seen a visual like this one from ServiceNow before. You might have seen the 7-domain CSDM visual, but the reason I wanted to share this is if you look across the whole of the ServiceNow platform, every part of the platform connects back to and is dependent upon you having your data CSDM aligned. So whether that be you're only using ITSM, you've got IRM, SecOps, strategic portfolio management, integrated risk management, every part of the platform has a dependency on your data being aligned. So hence why I just wanted to show this visual of these connection points that need to be in place to support your goals of what you're trying to achieve with the different parts of ServiceNow. As I said, I'm not going to talk through this slide because you'll get a copy of the slides, but in our experience across the platform, if you don't have your data aligned, you can see what impact it has on the different parts of ServiceNow. What we found with customers who haven't gone down the path of getting CSDM alignment is they've actually ended up creating a lot of technical debt within ServiceNow. So they've tried to customize different tables, different parts of the platform to support these different areas, because maybe at the time when they started with ServiceNow, this was quite new, CSDM, if you're kind of more of a legacy customer, or unfortunately, because it's kind of a data requirement, it's never given the same priority as getting the other parts of the product implemented as fast as you can. So it kind of gets left behind, unfortunately. But it then has a knock-on effect to you as a customer, because you're now going to have to look back and try and unpick your customization to get yourself aligned to CSDM. So what Chris is going to show you today is the offering that we've created. It's used by somebody like Chris or Ben or the other members of the team who are CSDM experts. So what we're bringing to customers is the consultant plus AI. And Chris will go into this in more detail about why that's so valuable when we work with customers, because part of this is about the education to help customers understand how they get their data aligned, and then how they actually get that data into their ServiceNow platform. And then thirdly, how do they then make the changes, whether it be process or technical changes, to your ServiceNow platform to get the value from CSDM. Hence why it's the consultant plus AI. It's not just a product that you purchase and then you try to work out how AI can help you. It is consultant plus AI. So Chris, just going to hand it to you so you can start the demo, if that's okay.
Yep. Thank you very much, Noel.
I'll stop there and then you can take the screen.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So thanks, Noel. And yes, exactly that. This is an AI assistant AI agent that works alongside us as CSDM experts in consulting. And the reason for that is, the best products in the world, they work best that are built because they solve a problem for you. And that was me in this case. And so we designed and built this because as a CSDM expert, we want to help our customers to move quickly, to move fast, to analyze data faster than what a human can. And normally I would take the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet that we have here is from a customer. The customer has, this is actually real data, right? So this is from one of our customers that we serve at the moment. And so we've anonymized the data, so you can see lots of Acme positions on here. But the customer has data, and normally as a consultant, I would have to go through this with the customer, make notes, analyze it, make some determinations. It's a challenging exercise because it takes long. But with my AI assistant with me, she can do it way faster than I can. And she often catches a lot more of the things falling through the cracks than I do. But what's important is for the human to drive this. And that's why we have an ethos of AI plus human equals superhuman. So this data here is customer service data. They've currently stuck it in the CI_service table, which some of you may be familiar with. They've classified it as service offerings, which is not a classification in that table. So they customized it. And they don't use any of the other services tables, technical service offerings, technical management services, business services. They all stick it in one table and classify them across in a flat way. So they've customized the ITSM process. They've customized strategic portfolio management. They've customized change management because you can't access the data. So they find ways to store the data in the process and run it there, which is not helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to speak to my agent who's going to analyze this. I'm going to introduce her. She's on the call now. And this is what we would do in a consulting engagement with our customers. We would have her in the room with me, listening in when we want her to listen in, taking in what's happening. Even if it's being transcribed maybe by a co-pilot, we can copy and paste that transcription into her interface and she can deal with that where we want it. And the idea is that we can interact immediately and work very quickly through the data, get immediate replies, not wait weeks for me to come back with a spreadsheet or a diagram of the model. We have it immediately in those meetings so that we get through this very, very quickly. I'm going to try and wake her up. She's a bit sleepy.
Hello.
Hello there. I'm in a webinar at the moment, and we've got lots of potential customers joining us today, very interested in the work that you and I do together with respect to the CSDM. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. It's great to have you all here today. I'm excited to support this webinar and help demonstrate how CSDM version 5 can transform your service management capabilities. Whether you're just starting your CSDM journey or looking to migrate from an earlier version, I'm here to provide expert guidance across all 7 domains of the model. I have deep knowledge of CSDM 5.
Thank you, Solo. Solo, thank you. Sorry, she does get carried away. She's chatty if you let her. So, Solo, what I would like you to do is just stop the introduction, of course, but I want you to analyze the Excel spreadsheet that I've attached. It contains current extracts of all the services from a customer, and have used one single table inside ServiceNow and customized the classifications. So the services listed here are a mismatch of several different CSDM artifacts as you and I would expect in the perfect world. And classes are mixed as well. So I want you to correct it. And I want you to remember that the initial purpose of this is to bring out an assessment to say why this is wrong and what the opportunities are.
I plan to analyze the spreadsheet extract you've mentioned to identify where the current service classifications deviate from CSDM 5 standards, then provide an assessment highlighting what's incorrect and the opportunities for improvement. This will involve validating the data against proper CSDM entity types, relationship rules, and classification criteria to show where business services, technology management services, and service instances are misclassified or improperly structured. Are you happy for me to proceed with this analysis?
I am. Thank you very much. Right. So in her training, she is fully prescribed with the latest in CSDM version 5, the white paper, but also more importantly, at a granular level beyond the white paper, the practicalities of being able to implement the CSDM in processes. So she understands the relationships that need to exist between certain components and why they're so important to the process that ServiceNow is running because of CSDM data. She's an enterprise architect. She's also an expert in IT systems infrastructure. So she understands the dependencies on the CMDB, the discoverable part that sits below the abstraction layer. And this is crucial. This is crucially important because it's about linking those two together. And the CSDM is the conduit that makes the CMDB come alive, makes it relevant to all of our processes that we deal with in ServiceNow. So she's making a long assessment of that particular CSDM file, rather service file. She is being a bit slow. This wouldn't normally happen. So there's obviously, as we're doing a webinar, Sod's laws come into effect and is make it a bit slow. What I will then do actually is that I will address when we did a test run with her earlier today, same procedure, and this is what she came up with in the initial case. So straight away, we've got a compliance assessment in an executive summary format, which basically tells us what is all wrong and why it needs to be corrected, what the real issues are here. That's also been, she also created this diagram in a mermaid chart, which helps us understand certain elements of the CMDB that aren't catered for because of that spreadsheet. Now we could have conversations with the customer, talk them through some of these elements, get to understand why they're there. And this will add even more information to the spreadsheet that they've given us, which we would then add either through conversation with her or just transcribing some notes from a meeting where she may not have been present. And then it gives us the opportunity to then go to the next phase, which is to fix the issue. Yeah, so she's slowly chugging along here. What I'm going to do then in that case is I'm going to show you how she corrected that. And it normally takes 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't take as long as she's currently doing. So what I then got to ask her next was effectively to realign all of the services from that spreadsheet and realign them against what is the right way to do it within the CSDM. So she will have analyzed each line item in the spreadsheet and determined whether or not that needs to be a service offering or a business service or a business application. And so she's been able to take that spreadsheet and help us nail down what good should be looking like. So straight away, she's gone into the blue section of the CSDM, if you're familiar with it, the CSDM function, where she's been able to assign business capabilities, which is obviously a very important aspect to enterprise architects and the general strategic architecture of that customer. But what's most important is to nail down the business applications that are being used. These are the things that you're paying licenses for, like ServiceNow, like the elements that you see here, Workday, DocuSign, Infoblox. These are applications that then produce and create the consumable service that you find in the business services and the business service offering section. And here she's been able to take all of the different Excel records in the Excel spreadsheet and determine what service offerings would need to be decomposed from the business service. So, for example, the insurance services is being decomposed down into policy management service that can be accessed. The financial services has an accounts payable section, and so on and so forth. But she's been able to pull that out of that spreadsheet and immediately align it with the CSDM. The beauty about this is that whilst we're in these workshops with the customer, we're not going away to build these Visio-looking diagrams. They're built on the fly in front of us. And then it gives us poise to converse about it with the customer and get their buy-in for, especially what will be quite a challenging part is the technical side of the CSDM, which is where the technical services are and the technical service offerings reside. And that's because that's where the people in the organizational vendors that are supporting the administration or the functional of and the engineering of that infrastructure, where there is infrastructure or where there's maybe hyperscalers, and again, like where you may have a vendor. So here we have her building out technology management services. Now, none of that spreadsheet had any of this in, but what she was able to do was she was able to look at the intent and the inference behind it like a human would. And that's the beauty of what generative AI allows us to do when you train them on the specifics of what we're doing, in this case, services and the CSDM way of aligning them. She's then able to infer what needs to be set up in an organization that supports what is in the spreadsheet that's very wrong. And the spreadsheet was very wrong and misclassified, but it said things in there like, we use an ERP platform. We've classified it this, we've made a service offering like this. But what she's enabled to do with my help, because I'm going to ratify everything that she puts up here, is we're able to get down to, as an organization, you need to have a technology management service offering to support the business function that comes from the business application through this technology service. And then it goes and then connects it down to the instantiated versions of those business applications. So these are where we're getting really close to the discoverable part of the CMDB. It's that end point into ServiceNow change management and ServiceNow discovery, the APM function, which is now EA, GRC, which is now IRM, and is then connecting it to what she would expect when discovery is turned on, these applications with their endpoint APIs. And so very quickly, we move the customer into a more aligned way of working, and we can start addressing those issues with them. Now, one of the other pieces of work that I was going to ask about, there's obviously a slowness with our model service at the moment, was to take that spreadsheet that we saw all the way over here, that's from the customer, direct export out of ServiceNow, and we've asked it to realign that spreadsheet with the CSDM and make some points. So straight away, she's taken the unique identifier of the business service that was in that spreadsheet, and then she's gone through the current service name, she's gone through the current class and made it invalid. So it showed that it's invalid there. And then gone through whether there's a parent that exists and that it needs to be created. It then reclassifies that line item in the spreadsheet. And this creates a massive discussion point for you and the customer to then pick through, why is that invalid? Why is this particular business service called Family Man? Why is the hub not an application service, but rather a technical service? How do I manage this in ServiceNow? What benefit does it now give me? That's the importance of being able to do this piece of work. So I think what we will do is let's hand over to yourself, Ben, so that you can show the dashboarding and how Solo will produce this kind of dashboarding to give you a feel for some of what the spreadsheet is also working towards. So I'll hand over to you there.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Chris. So, I mean, what you've seen there is the actual real way in which we work with AI, right? To be able to produce all this stuff so quickly. And just from a personal point of view, actually doing this in a workshop is quite an incredible feeling of being able to produce all this content and these diagrams. Maybe it's CSDM mappings, maybe it's process flows, maybe it's whatever it is in a workshop in real time is just fantastic compared to normally having to go away, take away notes, collect them, build afterwards, come back, spend another week waiting for another workshop, another conversation. The difference is genuinely quite remarkable. But obviously this is all still very technical. What Chris showed there is fantastic if you understand the data. If you understand that spreadsheet, then being able to have it line by line, what needs doing is brilliant. But what if you don't understand CSDM? You tend to find, right, that most people who work with CSDM, you can ask any 2-3 of them the same thing and they will give you a different response because that's how it works with this sort of stuff. And they'll all be right because there's so many different ways of viewing it. So how do we actually understand this? How do we present this to others? How do we make these transformational changes and the value that we're actually trying to get out of them consumable by others? And the answer is, well, you can generate dashboards and information to show exactly that. So let me just share my screen. So what you're seeing here is an interactive dashboard. This is literally a single file HTML page that has been generated completely bespoke for a customer. Again, this one has been anonymized, obviously, based off their data. The data set in this case was a little smaller than the one Chris just showed. This one only had about, well, as you can see, 24 different items across a bunch of business applications and some service instances. What it's done, what the agent has done, so this is an agent specifically designed to work with Solo to create these diagrams, has created something to demonstrate what the current state issues are and the benefits are from what the change is. It's drawn out what the current architecture looks like based off the records. You can see this one is considerably simpler. Normally what this agent does, it will take the very, very large diagram that Chris showed, and it will turn into something that is a lot easier to digest. And then it has all the information here you could possibly need. And you can hover over stuff so you can see what is business application. So if I didn't know what that was, because I'm not a CSDM expert, I can just find that out. And it's worth remembering that this is entirely bespoke. This is not a generic dashboard that an AI just populates with data that shows the same thing every single time. This is a dashboard that has been created specifically to demonstrate the points that you want demonstrating or need demonstrating as a result of the data and the information provided to it around the CSDM. So here it's calling out that there was a flat structure problem with the current data. Basically, it's had a bunch of services related to emails without the service layers expected in CSDM. And it highlights some of the example reclassifications and has a simpler to look at list than what you might see in a spreadsheet, as a sort of companion to what we saw before. It can highlight things like the impacts to different product areas specifically. So this customer was interested in understanding what the impact of CSDM alignment or lack of alignment would be across the various product areas in the platform that they use. And they also highlighted some key stakeholders, some key people within their organization that they care about them understanding why this transformation is planned to happen. And it's specific, right? It's because, again, it's built by an agent. This can specifically go and look and say, yes, this actual service here, as an example, if it's classified as a service offering, prevents the proper security control mapping that the CISO, head of security, is going to care about. And that is, in my opinion, something that we couldn't really do before, to present all this information specific to all these different people, or reframe the same information in a way that all these people would understand, is something that would have taken an enormous amount of effort previously, and we now have access to. To show a different one quickly, I won't linger too much on here, but here's just another example of another dashboard. As you can see, it's very subtly different. It's not following the exact same format. This one has a lot more data involved. The existing complexity of data was more complex. So you can see it highlighted here what currently was there, sort of lack of relationships, but the inferred relationships between records. And then the target state has a, again, simpler diagram just to show, with written on it, the actual names of things like business services that the actual customer would recognize. And the nice thing about this, and it's something that people don't necessarily realize how good generative AI actually is at cleaning data, helping understand data, finding patterns in data. And it actually applies across the board as well. CSDM or others aside, one of the things that we do with customers is do assessments of instances, right? Looking into ServiceNow, do the assessment of across the instances to assess things like technical debt and customization, which is something that AI is incredibly good at, with the expert, someone who actually understands it properly and has been doing it for years alongside. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. Shall I hand back to yourself, Noel?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks, Chris. Just a quick question, just because I know it's the question that we get asked a lot, is obviously you create the diagrams, you do the analysis of the data, but how does the customer then take that data and how do we help, or how do they get that into the right tables in ServiceNow? Because we've got the diagrams, we've got the dashboards, but then the customer needs to get that into the correct tables.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, you're right. We do get asked that quite a bit. Given we have all access to all the data already, you've seen, Chris's spreadsheet where it had already put the correct classification into the exact same data format. That in itself is normally quite a lot of effort to do, to restructure the actual data so that it can be posted into ServiceNow. AI makes that so much easier because you can see it's pulled it all out. There is always a question. Obviously, you can't just take your current data, transform it, whack it back in, and expect ServiceNow to just be fine with that, because there's a good chance there's customized processes relying on the data being in that specific format. And you've got the people, you've got maybe some additional training so they understand what a technology management service is, as opposed to a service instance or an application service in CSDM4. So there's more considerations around what one might need to do, but the process of actually restructuring it so it can be put into the platform, yeah, that's something that that we can do easily.
Great.
In today's day and age.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I'll just open up the questions to the floor. So if anybody's got any questions for Chris or Ben on what you've seen, please just either take yourself off mute and ask those questions, or if you want to put them into the chat, we're happy to then just answer any questions that what you've seen or heard today.
quick question. This is Jeff Aldrich.
Okay.
It seems like this could be potentially used to replace and improve upon the data governance functions that ServiceNow has built into their platform, not just as a one-time conversion from wherever you are or your current state of a customer into a closer to or fully achieved desired state, but obviously there's natural drift and uncleanliness that creeps back in as time goes by, et cetera. Do you have mechanisms built in to where we could, if you license this agent, you could set it up and create, more regular dashboards, integrate with other ServiceNow dashboards that already exist, workspaces, et cetera, to start to create a more useful and valuable and easy to use and less labor-intensive data governance structure and processes?
Yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. If we can do this, we can also maintain the data, right? Using the same method. I mean, I personally use agents at the moment to maintain all sorts of stuff that I otherwise would have had to do manually. Do you have anything to add, Chris?
Yeah, I think that. So there's definitely two sides to that, Jeff. You would maybe want to look at doing that because that's a problem, an ongoing problem of maintaining the cleanliness, the maturity of your CSDM or the adherence to. But my assertion is, and I've seen this where there has been a modicum amount of maturity in the CSDM implementation by a customer, where they're able to start leveraging the ServiceNow artifacts, the features that are there to actually sustain a service portfolio that's aligned with the CSDM. So that's being able to now leverage the digital portfolio management, not just the dashboards that show the health of your data, the health of your CSDM, the health of your CMDB, but it engages the actors that can then leverage the digital portfolio management and the the service builder, where you can then, you've got now a good baseline, you've been able to clean all of your CSDM, you're now in a mature state, and now you can use ServiceNow as it was intended to maintain and mature that. Yeah.
I guess I was even thinking about the possibility of inserting the bot, the agent, into some of the creation process. If somebody's requesting to build new services or new things, to be able to have some intelligence and go, hang on a second, you might not want to do that. Here's why we think that's not in alignment with CSDM. Let's have a conversation, let's figure out how to get it right as it's coming in and just bake it right into the process. Even instead of having somebody submit a service request per se, let them chat with the bot to do these creations and get it right the first time, as well as catching the things that snuck in after the fact.
Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, I mean,
because if you use the enterprise architecture piece where you're, like you were talking to in the chat, if you use enterprise architecture visualization model and you try put the incorrect relationship between two components, straight away there's heuristics built into the logic that says that's not the correct relationship. And that's not the issue that this is necessarily solving, although it can. What it's solving is why do you only have one technology service offering, or why do you only have one instance of that business application in the service instance or application service layer? And so it's going to that, like you said, that level of maturity where I want to build a new service. Here's my business service. It's the insurance policy service. And the first service offering I'm going to build is this. It's going to question, why don't you have multiples of that? Don't you have a user base of like 10,000 people? They're not all going to subscribe to one kind of service offering, right?
Well, and you could be looking at the discovered data of what applications are installed on what servers, et cetera, and just figure out, wait a minute, you've already got 3 instances. Why are you, the data is already out there if you use it properly. And so just there's a lot of that manual stuff, and cleaning up is always harder than getting it right in the first place. So if we can get some of those smarts built into those processes as people are thinking about it, and also turn it into education, you could also take that opportunity to help teach the person who's trying to make take the wrong step. You can now educate them and teach them more about the CSDM and understanding why we do it the way we do it. It seems I've done this. I was an enterprise architect most recently. I've been through this with people. Why are you making it so complex? Just get it in the table. Let's use it. There's a reason for the complexity that the ServiceNow, Mark Bodman and the CSDM team put into place. And it's hard for people, but I think once they learn, they understand what it enables. But you've got these touch points now where people are trying to do things. I think you could bring a lot of extra value through inserting that intelligence and then helping to educate through the process of getting it right.
Yeah, it is. I mean, AI agents are, they're endlessly attentive and endlessly patient, right? I mean, that's a absolutely crucial thing. And it's in a way that data cleaning or explaining the same thing to 100 different people, you just couldn't do if you were a CSDM professional hoping to achieve that in an organization, right? You just wouldn't have the patience for it. And also, I mean, I've got a strong background in enablement and organizational change as well. And so I've done a lot of training programs, and AI is also exceptionally good at teaching, and it's exceptionally good at translating one thing into another person's language. So you can use it to not only explain CSDM, but explain CSDM and why you do these things to a service owner, to an IT tech person, to a product owner,
right,
to any, in their world, in their language, using things that they understand. And that is invaluable. It really is.
And probably based on which level of maturity they're currently at. You don't explain it in the sense of fly, in the context of fly, if they're still at crawl. It's
Yeah, for sure.
It's what any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, is an old quote.
Ah, yes. Yeah, C. Clarke, right? That's my favorite one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions from anyone? Just Masana, with your question, the recording of the webinar will be sent out to everyone, including the slides. So yeah, you'll get a copy of the session for today. Okay, if there's no other questions, thanks again to everybody for attending. Thanks for your time. If you need any more information, please get in touch with us about whether it's CSDM or the other AI offerings that I mentioned at the beginning. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Greg.
Thank you.
Stop wasting millions. Use Eclipse AI.